Can you believe that that gorgeous pattern at the bottom of that cutting board is from a napkin? Yeah, y'all, a paper napkin from Dollar Tree. I cannot wait to show you how to do this. I'm Amy Green from Amy and Art Designs, and before we get started, I want you to like and subscribe to my channel. And now, let's go make something beautiful. I am so glad you're here crafting with me today. We are going to make a gorgeous decorative cutting board. We're going to use the supplies here. Before we go into exactly what we're going to use, I made this on Facebook Live recently on my page. Every Friday morning I do a coffee and crafting at 10 a.m. Eastern. And this was such a huge hit. So I thought I'll come over here and make a tutorial on YouTube for you guys because I think you're going to love this. In fact, I know you are. So this cutting board came from Michael's. I've already sanded this down. We'll talk more about that in a minute. This napkin came from the Dollar Tree. We're going to use this. We've got white chalk paint, like a tan chalk paint that actually dries more like about this color. I've got satin Mod Podge. I'm going to use these to paint with. Some Jute Twine, Dollar Tree again. Painter's tape. These are 3/4 inch wood beads. And some 1 inch half wood beads. All right. So I cannot wait. We're going to get started. And I'm going to show you exactly how to make this. All right. So this wood cutting board came from Michael's. I sanded this down really well, y'all. The edges were rough. This was it just needed a little love. So I used my electric sander. If you don't have an electric sander, go at it with some regular sandpaper. And then we're just going to paint it. I typically just pour a little bit on top when I've got a bigger surface like this, and I'm going to spread this out. So I'm going to finish painting this, and then I will see you back here. I've painted this. I've got on gloves because I got the paint all over my hands. Anyway, what I want to show you, there's like little raised parts on the wood. After I painted it. So what I need to do, if that happens to you, and this is the second one I've done, and both times this has happened with this particular wood, and it's just the wood. So all I want to do is go back with my sander, sand this down really good so it's nice and flat. You want it to be nice and smooth, and then after that, we'll put another coat of paint on it. So I'm going to go sand this down now with my electric sander, and I'll be back. All right, we're back, and I have sanded this down. I've kind of distressed the edges a little bit here just because I like that look. It's personal choice. But this is painted and ready for our next step. So I'm going to take my napkin. Let me wait till you see this when I open it up, y'all. It is so cute. You have a full pumpkin patch on this napkin, which is what I love, okay? I love it. It is so pretty. So, when I put this on here, we're going to Mod Podge this on here, okay? But I want this to go down to the bottom, and I want this to go. So, I'm just going to cut across this middle line. But I guess what I was trying to say, my words weren't coming out. I want this to line up right at the bottom. So, I'm going to carefully cut across my middle, and I can save the other side for another project. How cute is that? And the colors are just Dollar Tree killed it on this napkin. So they did a great job. Okay, now I'm going to take this away because I want to use my grid to line things up a little bit. I love this crafting mat or quilting mat, whatever it is, sewing mat thing, because I can line things up on it and tell if it's straight or not. So I've got this going through the middle here at the top. You can't see that part. This is the low point is right here. And then I can line my napkin up with these dots on both sides so that I know it's straight. Because if this is off, it's going to make your beads look off, okay? Now we're going to figure out how many beads we need to go across of these 1/2 inch beads. Or 1 inch. These are 1 inch. I got these on Amazon. To figure out how many half wood beads we need, we're going to line them up on our cutting board and space them out. The thing about these beads is you kind of have to lay them out and figure out if you lay them exactly next to each other or if you put a tiny little bit of space between them to make it look even. And then we're going to paint them. I'm going to use a paint dauber, a round paint dauber, and painter's tape to paint these beads, okay? So I'm just going to take a piece of painter's tape. The one thing I learned from doing this last time is you want to space them enough so you can get around all your edges. And we're just going to put it right on the tape. I'm going to speed this process up for you just a little bit. The thing I learned about painting these beads is you need to put some space in between them so you can get the sides all the way down. That's the hardest part about painting these beads on the tape, is making sure you get in there and get the edges all the way around. But once you have them onto your tape, you can go ahead and start painting. And I'm going to use a sponge brush, a little round paint dauber, to paint them. And you're just going to go around the edges and all the way down the side. I gave these 2 coats before that they looked the way that I wanted them to. I'm going to use 5 3/4 inch wood beads for this. I'm just going to drop them right into my cup. If you haven't seen me do this before, it is going to be fun, I promise. So we're just going to pour a little paint in here. Come on. We don't need a lot. You can always add more. And then I'm going to spray a couple spritzes. This is just water. 3. And see how that works. And that's just to thin the paint out a little bit. And now I'm going to shake my cup. And you just want to shake it until your beads are mostly covered. The one thing about this method is that there are little lines on the paint brushes. There are little lines on your beads. So we're going to fix that really quickly too. We're just going to, dump them onto a plate. And we're going to spear them, for lack of a better word. I'm trying to see if I can show you on camera, and I can't. But when you do this, you're going to see that it's not a smooth finish. So they're covered. We just now need to smooth them out. So you're going to take a paintbrush, just a flat paintbrush, and you're going to smooth it out. I don't like this paintbrush. So you're just going to continue that process until you've smoothed out the paint on all of your beads, and then you're going to let them dry. I just want to line up this. So, and then this is a 2-ply napkin. You want to take it down to its lowest ply, if you will. So if it's 3-ply, just remove the part that has the design on it. Because you only need 1 layer, all right? And I'm going to get out my craft iron. Okay, so we're going to Mod Podge about to this line right here on our mat, and that's how we know. So we're just going to get our Mod Podge out. You can apply this with anything you want. I'm going to use the back of this, and I'm just going to pour some on here and spread it out, okay? I'm going to use a dry part of my sponge. This is the Satin Mod Podge. It works really well with this. I'm going to use the iron-on technique, okay? So, but the one thing you want to make sure when you're using this technique is that you get a good layer of Mod Podge and you don't have any spots that are uncovered. All right, because You need a nice good layer for your napkin to stick, but this is one of my favorite ways to Mod Podge. Again, speeding this up for you, but I just want to remind you to make sure that you get the edges really good. That's the place where you are going to have the most trouble with your napkin lifting, and you really want it adhered around those edges. So my Mod Podge is dry to the touch, and I just always take my board. You can tell where the Mod Podge has been applied and just make sure there's not an area you missed. And so this is looking really good. We're going to put this on here, but before we do, I want to try and get this a little straighter, okay? So I'm just going to set this aside. I'm going to lay this flat on my crafting mat. And I am just going to try and trim this. Most of this will be covered up by the beads, but I just don't want one part to stick up more than another part. We're just gonna cut it real carefully. Try and get a straight line, because I did not get a straight line when I cut it the first time. And that's, let's look at it. This is a whole lot better. See, it's a whole lot better. All right. Now, this is important, guys. You want to make sure that you get your napkin on pretty darn straight. Because if you don't, it is going to be super obvious when you put your beads on. Because you have a straight line down here. Okay, and you're going to put your beads across in a straight line. So, we want to line our napkin up. Our board's lined up, so we want to line our napkin up with the lines on our mat, and just use that as a guide and make sure that it's hitting at about the same place on both sides. All right, now comes the fun part if you've not done this. This is parchment paper, just oven cooking paper. You can get this at Walmart, maybe the Dollar Tree. And this is a crafting iron, my little crafting iron. And we're just going to start in the middle and real slowly work out. Okay? And what this does is it adheres it to the board. And I got this. You can get the link to my crafting iron. It's down below in the description. It'll say, you know, find the same supplies that I use. Go there. It'll have a link to I love my crafting iron. I love that it's small. And I love that it can get into tiny areas on smaller pieces. And it heats up really quickly. Okay, what you want to make sure, guys, too, is that when you want to start in the middle and go out so you don't get wrinkles. And then you want to go around the edges because you want to make sure that it's really adhered on the edges, okay? You do not want your napkin coming up on the edge. Let's check it. This makes me happy every time. So I'm just going to see where we are, and we're really nice on our edges. Now, this is still a napkin. We've not sealed it, so just be careful because it can get dirty, just like anything else. So we're done with our crafting iron. I'm going to turn that off and move it over here. And we're just going to take a piece of sandpaper now and go around the edges, all right? I'm barely using any pressure. This is 320 grit. Okay, barely using any pressure, and it's just gonna, this is why you want it adhered really well around the edges, because you don't want it ripping up your design when you do this, because it will if it's not adhered well. If this process is new to you, I wanted you to be able to see me go all the way around the board and how I'm just continuing that process, just gently sanding to take off that napkin. And really, that's all you have to do. Look at this. Isn't that, okay, this is gorgeous, guys. I mean, it is like something out of a picture. It is beautiful. I just decided, let's see here. I just decided to add something. We're going to use some home decor wax. I love my home decor wax because it adds a little bit of texture and aging to the final piece. I love how it looks. So we're going to go ahead and put that on now. With the home decor wax, a little goes a long way, y'all. So we do not want to use a lot of it. I just put, that's all I'm going to put on my plate. I might use that much, I might not. So I cut my makeup wedge in half because I don't need the whole thing. I'm tapping off the extra, and I'm just going to kind of go around the edges to start. And then I'm going to go back with the edge of my wedge and rub it in. Don't worry if it doesn't look exactly the way you think you want it to look. That's why we have sandpaper. You can lighten it up. You can go back and add a little more. That was a little too much. So watch. See? I'm going to fix it. Got a little crazy and wild. See, now you can hardly tell. So everything's fixable, guys. See? All right, I'm going to speed this up for you because I want you to be able to see the process. But if you're new to using a decor wax or a distressing paint, I don't want you to be worried about it. I want you to just go in gently, put a little bit on, and then you can always take it off. The one place I would caution you is about getting too much decor wax on that napkin because you cannot take the napkin off. So be extra gentle around that area if you're new to this, and just continue the process until you're happy with how your distressing looks. All right, our next step is to seal this. And the reason we want to seal it is because we do not want any dirt or dust, or our kids, for that matter, to touch our nice napkin art and get it all nasty, because they will. They will take their dirty hands and they will pick it up. And no matter what you do or say, it is too late because they have taken their dirty hands to it. You guys know if you've got boys. So I am going to use this DecoArt Satin Varnish. You could seal this with Mod Podge. I am not going to. I'm going to use the Satin Varnish. I love this stuff. This might be one of, okay, there's a lot of things that I really love in my craft room. But this is one of my favorite products. And so we are just going to go over this lightly with our sponge in one direction. Okay. And it's going to put a nice seal on it, and it's going to make it look really good. And don't worry, we're going to seal our beads too, so they're all going to have the same finish. The reason you want to go in one direction is that if you go multiple directions, it's going to show. And the grain of this board goes up and down. So we're going to continue this process, and we're going to cover or seal the napkin part of our board with the DuraClear. It's better with the DuraClear to go in with a lighter coat and do a couple coats, letting them dry in between, than it is to go in with one heavy coat with the napkin, because again, the napkin is still a paper product and we do not want to saturate it. So just light and easy does it. So basically the same thing with the beads. We're just going to take a soft brush and real quickly, just like we did before, we're just going to go over the beads. So when you use this sealer on paint, this is my personal opinion, what happens is that it just makes the color a little more vibrant. One of the reasons I love it, I had way too much sealer on my brush that time. Do not do what I just did. Too much. Okay. So I'm just going to continue sealing the rest of my beads, and the most important thing is to make sure you get a good coat on each of the beads and you don't have a lot of excess sealer, because it will dry thicker and you'll be able to see that. And then we're going to use the same sponge brush, but a clean one, to put the sealer onto our half beads. And same process as painting, just go around, and y'all, the DuraClear dries really quickly, so you're going to be able to move on to the next step. Once our beads are dry, we're going to remove them from the tape and get ready to glue them onto our cutting board. Before I glue these on, I line them up on my board, and I'm also checking the edges to make sure that there's no extra paint that kind of dried around the bottom. Just perfecting them before they go onto the board and lining them up. And then when I get them exactly the way I want them, and you see I'm going to use a T-square here in a second to make sure that they're straight, because with this especially, if you don't have them straight, you're going to be able to tell because we've got that line across the bottom of the napkin. So just important to be extra fussy, which is why my big head was in the camera. So when you glue them, y'all, start on one side and glue in. Don't take them off and put them on again, because you've already got them spaced the way you want them. And this is why it's important to have a T-square or something that can help you keep them straight on your board, because you're going to bump them like I did. But it's super simple once you get started and you get in there and do this. And our last step is we're going to add a string on the top, some jute twine, and let's see, we probably need about this long, some beads that we painted. So I want to wrap it 3 times. So, and I want the tie to be tight. And I want to tie it here, and I want my beads to hang down, okay? So, and don't worry about this. It's just, if you've ever worked with jute before, it's a natural product. And all natural products kind of, have stuff that comes off. We had jute rugs, and those things shed all over the house. Let me take our beads off of our little drying posts. Oh, that one's stuck. Well, oh, come on. You gotta be kidding me. Did I paint it on here? There we go. Okay. Yeah, I did paint it on there, but I want that to come off. All right. I'm going to put 3 on one side and 2 on another. And then I'm going to be after I do that, I'm going to tie them off. This is a yarn needle. And them super helpful for stringing beads. You can get them. They're very inexpensive. They are very, very inexpensive. Joann's, Michael's, Hobby Lobby, probably Walmart, definitely Amazon. Anywhere that sells yarn probably sells a yarn needle. So I want these to hang down a little bit, but I don't want them to go so far that they're into my beads down here, and I want it to be about the same length. So I'm going to loosely tie them off. I'm not going to tie it too tight yet, because again, I want them to be about the same length. This one's going to be a little longer. And then once I get them about the same length, I'm going to tighten them up. So let's see here. Here we go. Let's see. Yep, about the same length. Doesn't have to be perfect. All right. get the, and I'm going to trim this up just a little. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, super cute. Okay, so there you go. So what do you think? Let me know down in the comments. I cannot wait to hear what your thoughts are on this project. While you're there, make sure that you like and subscribe to my channel and drop me a pumpkin if you watched all the way to the end. Y'all, I am so glad you took time to craft with me today, and I cannot wait to craft with you again. I'm Amy Green from Amy and Art Designs, and I'll see you back here real soon.